I'm here with a focused interview with a teacher to discuss assessments. Do you perform any early assessments on your students to get to know them better or to determine what they already know?
Yes, I do a beginning of the year math assessment to look at what benchmarks and standards they already know or might struggle in. And I also do an interest inventory to learn about the students of what subject areas they are comfortable and uncomfortable in.
Okay. And typically, what kind of summative assessments do you give in your class typically?
Summatives, mostly the unit assessments or the chapter assessments that come with our curriculum. And then sometimes we'll do some project-based summative assessments on skills.
Okay. There's a recent trend to move away from summative assessments and move towards just formative assessments. And the thinking is that it's better to give formative assessments and just adjust your instruction along the way so you can help the students master a skill earlier than the summative. Do you agree with this trend?
I do agree. I feel it's better to do a quick formative assessment of the skill or the standard because then you can appropriately group kids to their learning ability. So using the universal backwards design to prepare your lesson plans to best meet the needs of each child in your classroom.
What's the process for dealing with a student that's not achieving mastery of the skill or the standard? Like, what support do you give the student in the classroom?
Typically, I first look overall. If it's a question that's consistently missed throughout the classroom, then I know I need to go back and readjust my teaching whole group. If one student or students less than 5 are missing numerous questions, I pull them in a small group, reteach the lesson using manipulatives or a different form, and then I will reassess to see if they've mastered the skill.
What type of tasks do you give grades for? Like, what kind of categories of tasks do you?
I have classwork and participation, which is 10%. I have quizzes that are 40%, and tests or projects are 50%.
Okay. And do you take anything else into account when you give a child a grade? Like what's going on in their home or what kind of day they've had or anything?
Typically, based upon me learning the students, I kind of guide it by that. I know different things can happen in different situations, can cause a student to be unsuccessful on a test. So depending on the scenario, I might have them reassess in a quieter setting or do a little more investigation on why possibly they might have not did well in that assessment.
Do you have any performance-based assessments, like project-based work, to help students that don't do well on tests?
Yes, we do some project-based works where we put in small groups, and that is graded based upon a rubric. So they have the opportunity to be successful in a skill that they might be better at versus taking a multiple choice or a fill-in-the-blank assessment.
And one final question. Students take yearly standardized tests in your school, and there's instances where if the student doesn't pass, they have to be retained. Do you agree that the only thing that should be a factor in determining whether they're retained is a yearly exam?
I disagree, just because there are some students who are extremely well knowledgeable of a standard or a skill, and the anxiety that a test can bring upon that because it's timed, I feel sometimes gives skewed data. But I feel that a teacher should also have the opportunity to create a portfolio to balance that out, because I don't feel one test should determine a pass or fail for a student.
Okay. Thank you for participating.
You're welcome.